Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Brickanista Broadcast Network here on YouTube and on Rumble. And today is an awesome day because I have a special guest with me who I can't believe we crossed paths because I happened to be in the Portland area for some port lug work that I was doing. And then he flew into town like 2 days after I left. But I've been really excited to have our guest on the show because both he and I had met through the Lego Masters Season 3 interview process. And we'll have a chance to chat with him some more about that. But I just wanted to say thank you again for tuning in and for being part of the Brickanista Broadcast Network. If you're new here, my name is Naomi. I'm based in Seattle, and I've been streaming for a couple years now, and it's been just a blast. And I only started streaming on Rumble about 2 weeks ago on February 12th. So this is my, I think, seventh episode on Rumble. And I was mentioning to my guest, who happens to be a recognized Lego fan media person, the RLFM designation. I think he's the very first RLFM to appear on Rumble. So I'm super excited to invite him. And please help me welcome to the stream, Tom Kukkonen. I hope I got that right. So Tom is based in Montreal and has been with the RLFM for 3 years? No, 5 years, right?
I think it's going on 4 years now.
4 years. Okay. See, I started with 3, 5. I was almost there. So
Average them out. It's all good.
yeah. So welcome to the show. So good to have you here. And I've been just really, really thrilled that you and I have gotten to know each other just, I think, within the last, six months maybe, since the show started. And I've been just watching the evolution of your videos on TikTok. And I know you've been with RLFM for a while, and several of the RLFM creators have been doing different content, but you have this really cool style that I really enjoy. And I'm really glad that you're here because I'm hoping that in addition to the 2-minute tech tip, which you shared with us, that you might also want to share your process too. So
Sure.
Welcome. And we have in the chat, Brick Jedi, ahoy hoy. Brick Jedi, you still have not sent me an email because the other thing that I've recently done, which I hadn't mentioned to Tom yet, is that I also have a locals.com account now. And locals.com is an alternative to Patreon. So you can have community subscriber only content over there. And what I've been doing is for my regulars like Brick Jedi and Brick Literacy and some others, I've been giving them some subs to go into this area, and we're calling it Pandy's Play Space. And you're going, what? Pandy is the mascot of the Brickanista Broadcast Network, which is a panda. And we had our first Pandy's Play Space event, which was last Friday. So that's where we have, for subscribers only, a chance to hang out, kind of like in a Zoom call, where you just kind of hang out, sort, chat, talk about life. Brick Jedi's going to email me tonight. Okay, good. I think we decided the next event is going to be on March 10th. And we also did some testing that this little room that we were in, we could also watch movies. So we're probably going to have a movie night too sometime in the future. And Lena Inverse is here. Hey, Lena, how are you? Good to have you here. So anyway, so welcome everybody in the chat. And so Tom, tell us, you've been doing TikTok now. You're fairly new to TikTok from what I remember you and I were talking about. So what was your motivation to start in TikTok? And, now that, you seem like very comfortable with it, what do you do when you start thinking about different content that you're going to build?
Well, I am pretty new to TikTok. I only started the end of August.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on Instagram for a while. I've had a YouTube channel for ages, but it's been kind of dormant for years, with only the occasional video being posted here and there. I always focused mostly on my written blog.
You have an awesome blog, by the way. It's
Thank you.
Bricks.com, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
As for motivation, I don't know. I guess as a content creator, you always have to try to kind of evolve and, you know, stay up to date with what's new and happening. And I guess my reluctance to do TikTok before mostly had to do with the fact that I used to be a high school teacher, and I didn't want all my students, you know, watching me.
Look at what Mr. Kukkonen's doing now. Now I have to ask, you haven't done the Wednesday dance yet, have you?
No.
Okay.
I haven't done any dances yet. You know, the funny thing is they tell you that you're supposed to do all these trends and things, but every time I try to do one of those trend videos, it's like one of the biggest flops I've ever produced. Or maybe it's because I don't do them properly. You know, like I don't get up and I don't do the dance moves and whatnot. Like if I tried one with that, what song was it? I can't even remember. Oh, it was that Meghan Trainor song. You know, the one that was really big a couple of months ago.
Oh, yeah, the Louis Vuitton one.
Yeah.
Made you look that one.
Yeah, I did that.
On your TikTok account?
It is, but I did it with a minifigure.
Oh, so yeah, totally.
I had like the minifigure showing up with a little purse, you know, and all that stuff, and nobody watched it. I spent so much time timing everything to the song, and nobody watched it. So I don't know. I've tried a couple of other little trends here and there, but they just never work for me. So,
well, I think it goes back to stay with what you know, and also those trends they come and go. Like the Wednesday dance. If you were to do the Wednesday dance now, people would be just saying, "Oh, that was like so last month," right? Yeah. That nobody's doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I will definitely take a look at that, because I'm sure the take you put onto that Meghan Trainor song would have been a lot of fun with minifigs. That's really cool. So now when you're doing your videos, like one of your most recent ones, which I was very excited about, is you focused on the PDX minifig exchange. And I know that I gave you a heads up because I said, I'm going to miss you. I'm not going to be able to, you know, connect, but you got to bring a minifig with you when you come out here and try to hit up the PDX minifig exchange. So for those of you who haven't seen his video, you should check that out, because you have a couple of interesting camera angles. And I'm just kind of curious if that is the way you always start your videos, with kind of a, you know, a discussion, and then you do the lower thirds that are part of it. What's your process?
I guess it depends on the specific content. Like if I'm out shopping, I'll normally start the video with a discussion. So like I often share my Walmart deal hunting or my minifigure hunting and stuff. So that I'll often start with some kind of discussion walking through the store, or maybe standing outside the store where I point up at the sign or something like that. Yeah. Otherwise, I really try to not introduce myself in the videos and kind of cut to the chase, you know, like what is this video about, so that I guess more people fast. Will not scroll
lots of
past.
Quick cuts. Yeah, exactly.
But otherwise they're pretty much kind of done on the spot. Like I don't rehearse very much. I don't script very often. I find when I script, it comes off a little bit static. I know it works for some people, but I found it just doesn't really work for me. So I most of the time do things in one take. Sometimes I'll do a second or third if I fumble with my words too much or something. But I tend to film also in short segments. So that's why I have all those little cut scenes, you know, like with the PDX exchange there. There's one point where there's a cutscene and it's just, it looks like there's film rolling and you just see the PDX logo in there.
Oh yeah, and you've got it on a Dutch angle where you got it turned.
Yeah, so that's basically because I filmed a segment, then I stopped the video, and then I started to film another segment. So I don't like it to just be obvious that I've filmed it at two different segments. So I find if you put that little cutscene in with some, you know, B-roll, it makes it flow a little bit better and makes it a bit more interesting.
Right. And the other thing is you do have a conversational style when you're talking to the audience. It's kind of like, hey, I'm going to this American Walmart store and let's see what's happening here, right? So that I think conversational style works really well. And since you are doing quick cuts, I think that just kind of lends to TikTok too. Because I think it's the short attention span syndrome, right? If you go into too long of a detail, and I'm even wondering if the 2 minute tech tips are too long for TikTok because they give you a 3 minute max, which is
Yeah.
why I shot for the 2 minutes. But you're the first creator to do the 2 minute tech tip, and you sent it to me, and it was like 1 minute 35. And I said, that's awesome, because I don't have to shave stuff off. I feel really bad when I have to cut down because they'll say, I got it in like 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And I'm like, oh man, I've gotta slice it up because I need enough room to do my intro and my closing,
Yeah.
right? Within the 3 minute segment. So that just shows you how professional and together you are with your editing. And I'm just curious, did you go to video editing school or what platform? What platform do you use? Do you use CapCut or
I
what do you?
do. I use CapCut religiously,
Mm-hmm.
to the point that some people have even commented on my videos that I use it too much.
Oh,
But you know, like you're never gonna please everybody, and
right.
I like the flashy transitions and the filter effects. So
Mm-hmm.
you know what?
The
I
quick
figure,
zooms. You like the quick zoom too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I figure, it's my video. I'm gonna make it the way that I want to, and if people don't like it, well, there's like 1,000 other Lego content creators out there
Oh
that
my God.
they'll like.
There's so many, and that's why I was really intrigued when I went onto Rumble. I was like, I wonder what Lego creators are out here, and I was, searching for Lego, and there's a handful. I mean, not very many at all, which I think is interesting because I think a lot of people gravitated to Rumble for a political stance because it gives an alternate voice. Not a lot of content creators doing Lego, so if you're thinking about going over there, you can definitely use me as a referral because there is that. And speaking of Rumble, I just want to check over there to make sure there's one. Okay, we need to turn that volume down. Okay, there's one person watching. Hello, person in Rumble land. And I think, as I mentioned, I think we're really at just the very beginning of content creators starting to move over into this space. I found this space through a couple of different people that I follow. One of them happens to be a doctor, Dr. Sunil Dand. And I found actually locals through him because he was on YouTube and he had a controversial discussion about natural immunity when it came to the COVID vaccine, and he got banned, right? He's a doctor and he got banned for that. So it was interesting. He goes, I can't keep talking about this. So I'm going to be over at locals.com. And I was like, okay, I'll follow you over there. And because I don't know if you know about my background, but I have a genetics degree from Berkeley. And so when a lot of this stuff comes up and the way they're positioning it, I'm thinking, do you know what mRNA actually does? It's like, I'm sorry, I'm not putting that in my body. And it was just an interesting thing for me because I'm a Lego streamer, but because of my science background, sometimes these kinds of topics will come up during a Lego stream. And I'm just kind of curious. I know you don't do the live streaming, but you do the short form videos and you upload them. You also have your YouTube page. And on your blog, do you ever do other lifestyle types of things on your blog, or is it exclusively Lego?
Lifestyle things that I put on the blog tend to relate to Lego.
Mm-hmm.
I've used the blog for a variety of different creative purposes over the years, but I've always tried to tie it into Lego.
Mm-hmm.
Even before I was recognized, everything had kind of a Lego twist to it. So like I've covered science stories, but they've always had Lego in them. You know,
Did
like
you have like the Erlenmeyer and Beaker, the character from the Muppets?
Actually, I didn't really. I did a field guide for the Muppets, but that's as far as that went. But like, I've sometimes looked up how Lego has been used in science, and I've interviewed the scientists behind those studies.
Oh, cool.
So, like one of them, he was a PhD candidate at the time. He has his PhD now. He makes. I don't know if you've heard of Hamster Productions.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him. So
yeah, so he makes a lot of really awesome stop motion Lego movies.
right.
But he's actually, he's got his PhD in physics, and he wrote a paper about putting Lego minifigures into the world's coldest cryogenic freezer and seeing what would happen.
I think I've heard about this guy where he also took just your standard 2x4 bricks and he put them in liquid nitrogen. Is that the same guy?
Maybe. I can't remember if it's I know that it's one of the world's most like high-tech freezers basically, and it brings atoms almost to absolute zero where they stop moving, so they were looking, they just wanted to see, I guess, what Lego would do, and they discovered some pretty neat things about it that were unexpected, and he won awards for this discovery.
Wow.
So,
and all because he was focusing on Lego, or because of the other work that he was doing too?
Well, he was doing actual physics work with, I guess, temperature changes. I don't remember all the details because this was a couple years ago now, but he's a Lego fan, obviously, since he makes stop motion. So he just wanted to see what would happen if Lego bricks went in, and he made some big discoveries. And
so do the minifigs, does their hair color change when they come out?
Well, I think it was actually only one minifigure that went in. It was really more the bricks that the minifigure went in with that prompted the discovery about some kind of insulation effect of some sort, if I remember correctly.
I'm going to have to interview him for this show then.
Oh, I'm sure he would do it. He's such a nice guy. And at the time I wasn't doing any video, so it's a completely written article on the blog, but he offered to do video with me. And I was just kind of like, oh, I don't do video.
Oh, no. Okay. Hamster Productions. I'm going to say you referred me to him. And that would be great, because especially if he had, I don't know, like a canister of liquid nitrogen next to him, and you put the brick in, and then you take a hammer and, crack it. I could see that being very theatrical, which would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a really nice guy, so I'm sure he would do it.
So going back to the lifestyle blog, so you've done the science kind of aspect of it. Have you seen, for example, how they have the food stop motion videos where they'll actually have somebody like cracking an egg into a frying pan, and then it ends up being Lego and that kind of thing? Are you doing those kinds of articles too?
Articles, not so much. Right now, for a little while, the blog has been heavily focused on reviews and Lego press releases and that sort of thing.
So what's your favorite right now? Because I know you've been reviewing them all. Because, like, for example, I watched how you were building the Eiffel Tower. It took several times that you're taking cuts of the progress. I can't even imagine that must like take up your entire living room, right?
Well, it's sitting right across from me right now, and it's actually sitting in the same spot that it was in the final video when I finished it, because I don't know what to do with it. Like it's so big, and it was such. I hate to say this because I really do love building Lego, but the Eiffel Tower was one of the most painful experiences in terms of building a Lego set. It's so repetitive. Like it got to the point towards the end where I was dreading starting to build.
Oh, no.
It's just like, really? I have to build more of those little X structures.
Well, you're not alone. Have you talked with Tiago Catarino about this? Because he's also recognized Lego Fan Media, and he's actually refused to review it. And he's pretty big. He's got like 100,000 followers on
Yeah,
YouTube.
well, he used to work for Lego, didn't he?
Yeah. He was a Lego designer, and he became a YouTuber. And he's actually said, I am not going to review that because I don't want to have to put myself through that build. And I think a similar one was the Colosseum, the Roman Colosseum. Did you build that one too?
I didn't build that one. I built the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
The Titanic wasn't that bad. Like there are parts where you're just kind of like, this doesn't really look like anything because the interior is pretty empty.
Right.
But I mean, the detail and the build techniques to get the exterior to actually look like the Titanic was really cool. And I can't say that the Eiffel Tower gave me that same experience. Like it was just,
you were just like, no, not bag number 18. How many bags was that set?
I can't remember.
I think if it's anything like the haunted house, I think the haunted house had 15 bags, and that was
the Eiffel Tower is more than that, I'm sure.
I was going to say the Eiffel Tower's got to be at least like 20 bags, I'm guessing.
You know, I could actually look it up. I mean,
sure,
I did write a review after all, a painful.
We are very flexible here on the Brickanista Broadcast Network, and I see we have 5 people watching on Rumble now. Hello, people. Welcome to the stream. I'm going to just say hello to you here. I don't know if Rumblers is the right term. What is a person who watches Rumble? Are we Rumblers? I'm going to call you Rumblers. But I'm Naomi, and this is Tom. We're Lego streamers, and at least I'm a streamer. He's a reviewer, and he's a recognized Lego fan media site, and he's agreed to be on the show today. Tuesdays, I typically do Builder Insights. 74 bags? What?
I just looked that up. Yeah,
what?
74 bags.
Oh my God, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
70. Now is that like bags within the bags though?
No, I think it was just like one bag. Like I don't remember there being repeat bags on that one. It's long and they're all gray. So you have like this sea of gray in front of you at all times. But in the end, I just can't bring myself to take it apart.
Well, here's a suggestion. Do they have a comparable Bricks and minifigs over there in Montreal? Do they have, or a toy store or something that has a display case that, maybe you could put it in the storefront of a toy store and, donate it.
I'm not allowed to do that.
You can't?
No.
Oh, because you're RLFM, right?
So anything that is sent to me, I have to keep. I mean, it's not like a horrible, like, oh my God, I have to keep this type of thing. It's really quite wonderful.
You can't resell it. You can't even donate it either. Wow. Okay. So, well, you can tear it apart and repurpose it because I know Tiago does that all the time.
Yeah. Well, I've most of the stuff that I've reviewed, I've taken apart. Mm-hmm. The Titanic is actually right now on extended loan to my brother-in-law because he wanted to, have a crack at building it. The Eiffel Tower will eventually get taken apart and it will eventually get repurposed. I just don't know into what yet. So until I figure that out.
If you keep it for a year, several people were using it as a Christmas tree where they were decorating it for the holidays.
Would it really hold? I'm looking at it now and I'm like, I don't know if that's going to hold Christmas decorations.
It does. Check out the Brick Nerd site. So Brick Nerd put it up in, I think, his office and started decorating it with lights and little ornaments and things. So that might be an alternative for you if you want.
Maybe.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine 74 bags. I do Thrifty Thursdays, and those are $20 US or less. And at most, I might have 4 bags. And that will take me, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours to do a set live. And I can't even imagine. I mean, I've worked on bigger sets before, like I mentioned the haunted house, but even the haunted house I ended up repurposing because those olive green bricks, where are you going to get that many olive green bricks in a set? That's the one. So, and it was fun. I had a problem. Did you review that set by chance? So, you know how the elevator, I don't know if you added the motors or not. But
I did not, no.
When you add the motors, there's a couple cool things about the motors is that the app has sound effects. So when you have the elevator go up and then when it drops, you hear the people screaming, right? So it has like a scream sound on it. And the other cool thing is that when it goes up to the top, it, flies open. And there's another middle stage because there was a clear panel like midway up. So if you timed it just right, then the first level it would hit the clear window. The second level it would hit the open doors and it would pause. Because if you use the crank mechanism, once it got to the top, it would open and then just fall right down. So, and then when it opened, then you could hit the button and it would drop and you'd hear the sound. So that was completely cool. It was never consistent though. And since I stream live, I got to the point where, okay, we got it to work once. That's it. We're going to stop here while I have a successful run at this set. So how many sets do you review in a month, would you say? I guess, did the Eiffel Tower take up the whole month with 74 bags? I mean,
the Eiffel Tower took a really long time. I think in the end, it was close to, a solid 24 hours or something of building. Titanic was another one like that. But I try to have one Lego review every week. Now, I don't write all of those, so I have a couple of friends who've come on to the blog to help write reviews in the last couple of years.
Oh, that's good.
Has greatly helped me out because those reviews take a long time.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, you're allowed that, though, as an RLFM, right? That you can have partners with your RLFM, and then you can have one set you review and others can review others. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Lego group they don't stipulate anywhere that I personally have to do it. So I'm allowed to have contributors on the blog and I can send them the set or have Lego send them the sets instead. And as long as it appears on the blog,
on your
there's
blog.
a review and, then it's all good.
Okay. And I noticed you have like somebody in Vancouver, which is awesome, right?
She lives on Vancouver Island. Yeah, so she's in British Columbia.
Right, just like 3 hours north of me.
Yeah.
So tell me more about where'd you come up with the name True North Bricks? Did you have it for a while as part of something else, or has it just been something that the inspiration came and?
Well, it came actually, my wife and I came up with it.
Oh, cool.
Because when I was first starting to, not even starting to blog, when I was first thinking about starting to blog, the first thing that I figured I needed was a name. Like the website needed to be called something, you needed to have the website address. And I wanted to focus on kind of a Canadian angle Lego because at the time I didn't know of any written Canadian blogs. I still don't know of any.
I was going to say
blogs.
I think you're one of the exclusive ones, except for occasionally Brick Can will post something on their Facebook page. But I think you're keeping up the what's the word I'm looking for? You're like holding the fortress down of the Canadian bloggers up there.
Yeah. So that's how it came about. I needed a name, basically. So the True North part comes from the Canadian national anthem.
Oh, nice.
Because one of the lines is the True North, strong and free. So you'll often find, you know, in those souvenir shops and Walmart and stuff around Canada Day, T-shirts that say True North. So that's where it came from. True North bricks from the Canadian national anthem. I figured you can't get more Canadian than that.
Right. And speaking of Canadian, let's talk about Lego Masters Season 3, shall we? Because I know that you were very, very excited when it was, you know, and spoiler alert, people, the top 3 teams were all Canadian.
If now, people haven't seen the end of Lego Masters yet, I mean, come on.
We're also on Rumble, okay? So we're not just on YouTube. We're also on Rumble. So for people who are on Rumble who may be watching, I think there's five of you over there. Just, you know, Lego Masters was a big thing. And I think, too, this particular episode or this particular series was interesting because social media became really a big part of, I think, the dialogue with this particular show. Unlike the first 2 seasons, I think this one, they just brought TikTok to the front. The debates that were on Reddit were pretty fierce. I don't know if you follow Reddit or not, but it was pretty bad on Reddit. I mean, Reddit is not the friendliest place to begin with, but it got pretty bad. I mean, personal attacks, and I just don't remember the first 2 seasons being that ugly. And I'm just kind of curious about your take on this season versus the first 2 seasons.
Definitely. I thought that this season was very different from the first 2 seasons. I think that some of that was due to the editing of the show. Like I really felt that there was a push to try to make it a little bit more controversial. You know, bringing people in partway through the season, the big twists where, you know, you can give someone immunity or get like 1 billion bricks or whatever. Like
nobody's going home.
Yeah.
Halfway through, it's like all of a sudden, right? Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a little bit gimmicky in that sense where it almost felt like they were trying to make controversy where they didn't need to be. The first 2 seasons.
Think that's true with the drama, because I think they were surprised at just how friendly the Lego community is in general. Very supportive and very nice people. So it's like, how can we add more drama? And it's like they forced people, and we'll just talk about the TikTokers, right? That they brought them in midway in the season, and it's not their fault. I mean, they were scripted in, and they even brought them in on the rodeo episode. And that's when I was mentioning about the hate that was coming out on Reddit, you know, especially. And I was shocked. And these are 18, 19-year-old kids, you know. it's people, you gotta chill. It's not that big of a deal. And I was really just but I think the other thing that kind of made me realize about, I think our emotions have changed a lot since lockdown. And it's almost as if, and even like right now, I'm streaming right now, it's like people feel like, well, you invited us to your space. You should be prepared to be attacked, right? Thankfully, that's not an invitation for you to attack me, folks. But I just think that if you agree to be on a television show and all of these people signed contracts, right, that you almost like are willingly opening yourself up to that, which is part of the reason why I'm kind of glad I didn't get on the show. I like this part better, being able to interview people. And that's how you and I met too, was the interview. So going back to the Canadians. So when you reflect back on the beginning of the show, and then when it got to the end of the show, when the 3 Canadian teams made it to the finals, I know you were probably jumping up and down. And were you expecting that? Were you thinking that the Canadian teams were going to take it all, sweep the finals?
Well, I definitely hoped that at least one Canadian team would make it to the finals, because this was the first season that Canadians were even allowed on the show, you know?
Right.
So I I guess I didn't really think that all three teams would be Canadian. I really hope that one would be. There was a point in the season where I was a little bit worried that Nick and Stacy wouldn't make it.
Oh yeah,
because they
yeah,
had
they
a
were in the
rough
bottom two
patch.
several times. Yeah.
But that just goes to show that anything can happen. They steamed ahead and they won, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Oops.
Oops. well, let's talk about that a little bit. So, the last episode was interesting because of the way they had they could build anything. That was essentially the challenge. Whereas the first two seasons, it was what the second season was night and day, right? That they had to do a night and day challenge. And it's escaping me now about the first season. But
the first season was a build anything you want to as well, I think.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess because the first season they had very dramatic builds and they were really large. And I think for this particular third season, a lot of the comments have been that it was kind of bland, I guess. That, but I don't know. I think, if you're under pressure to build something for 24 hours and you have to think about what that's going to be, what can you think of that would be dramatic enough to be the winner of the show?
Yeah. Well, I think part of it this season was the type of people that they picked to be on the show. If you look at the first season compared to this season I felt the contestants were really Lego fans. Like you had some, true hardcore AFOLs in there.
Oh yeah, whereas lettuce bricks, right? That David Geddes, who is now a Lego designer.
Yeah,
he just got a job offer there, which is awesome.
But like if we compare that with the first season, you had Lego fans for sure, but like if you look at that giant peacock build that was in the last episode of season 1, that team, they were artists. They were Lego fans, but they were more artists.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, where the difference comes in between season 1 and season 3, right? It's the personalities that you brought in. And that's not meant to take anything away from the people who are in season 3. If I was, I'm not saying I want to, but if I was to ever go on Lego Masters,
you don't even stream, so I can't imagine you would want to have like 13 cameras all around you. It's so Tom, we want you to go into that brick pit and start working on that. I don't know. I think I wouldn't mind the experience to be around the brick pit. I just don't like the idea of being in a fishbowl. I think the fishbowl part is the part that would be hard for me. And
yeah, I think that's probably where I would struggle a bit too.
Hey, Spot, how's it going? Good to have you here. Well, going back to your comment about that the people who are in season 3 were more fans rather than artists, because I think too the first season had Richard and Flynn, the thespians, and they were really technically a great team, especially that half challenge with the clock. And if you think about Technic, I really enjoyed in this season the doctors when they put together the Technic build with the lava too and the motorization. I just wonder that season 4 supposedly has been greenlit. So who are they going to bring this time? What would you like to see in the next season?
A little bit less gimmick.
Yes, I agree with you. I also would like to see more concentration on the build techniques. And since this is Builder Insights and we've been doing the 2-minute tech tips, that's kind of where they do that with the one-offs with, Jamie and Amy. where they'll say, if you want to do color, then, for water, then do it this way. But I would love to see that coming from each of the builders. Let's
Yeah.
just say, okay, you've got 1 minute to pitch what build technique you did on this. That was amazing. They don't have to take a whole lot of time, but if they just did that one little bit, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Or like maybe make challenges focused around like a build technique or something.
Yes.
Be like,
Or a seed
here,
part challenge.
this is how you can build something like this. Now do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in the interview that we were doing with Nick and Stacy, where Stacy said that she would have liked to have had a challenge where they built something little and then have to build something big around it.
Mm.
I think something like that would be really fun, so that they could really showcase the detail in something. Because that's what we often heard this season in the interviews, was that there's so much detail that you never see and you're never going to get to see. But if they, had little things that could show us that detail, I think that people would appreciate that. And maybe you'd get fewer of the comments, there was no detail this season.
Well, I think too, they always get the comparison to Lego Masters Australia. And people have asked me if I'm going to try to interview the Lego Master Australia contestants. And I have been reluctant to do that only because I don't want to cloud my mind when it comes to interviewing the Lego Masters of US, North America. We did do Lego Masters New Zealand only because we had to kill time. Because, not that, no offense, New Zealand, but when they postponed the season, because we were ready, it's like, okay, it's in June, they're going to release it, we're going to be primed and ready to go, and then they said, we are going to postpone it to the fall season. And Remy and I were looking at each other like, okay, we've got, 10, 12 weeks that we've got to do. And I happen to have some friends in New Zealand. So I don't know if you've watched my show, my nickname in New Zealand is Kahu, which is short for Kahurangi, which is like the cloak of the blue sky or something precious. And so I roped in a lot of my friends from New Zealand and I interviewed them. And then we were able to get some contestants from the show too. And I happen to know Robin Sather too. It all worked out. And I think that, have you interviewed any of the Australian contestants, or have you focused on the U.S., North America as well?
I focused on U.S. and North America. I actually haven't watched any of the other.
Okay, good. Countries. So you and I are on the same plane. And if you ever want to be a guest on one of our shows when we start reviewing the season 4, I'll talk with Remy. If you ever want to be on, I'm going to go ahead and put the invitation out there, and we'll work it in. But before I forget, I want to make sure we play your 2-minute tech tip, because I can't believe it. Already 43 minutes into the show. Time flies. Oh my goodness. And yes, Spot the Magic Ninja also mentioned that he'd like to see more of the models too. And once again, I think people have been spoiled because Lego Masters Australia, they have, I think, an 1.5-hour show, which also gives them more time as well to do that. But speaking of videos, I have in here, we have a video that Tom did for us, and this goes back to the start of the show when we were talking about you and TikTok videos. And you'll see when we get to his portion, you can disregard my wrapper, the intro and the closing, but his core part really shows his skills there. And this is kind of the Mystery Science Theater portion. So your microphone will be live, so you can talk over this if you want to. Welcome back to the Brick and Ether Broadcast Network. For today's 2-minute tech tip, we're going to learn from True North Bricks about how to make trees out of just 2 elements. Check it out.
I'm Tom from True North Bricks, and today I'm going to teach you how to build a tree using only 2 different types of elements that I found on the Pick a Brick wall. First off, you're going to need a lot of these.
I like the sound effects.
Of course, you'll need a lot of these.
How'd you get those trees to make that sound?
And we're going to line them up.
They're all in coffee tins. All those
oh.
So it rumbles quite a bit when you dump them out.
To block all of the bricks on the bottom layer together, like so.
I like the lower third too.
Then you're going to take your row of bricks. You're just going to turn it around, and you're going to connect them. And then you can adjust it to be more round as you see fit. Now, this is the base structure for the trunk.
It's so awkward to listen to yourself.
A tree isn't going to be just a
you do such a good job, though.
Like this, you need to add branches and you need to add roots, and that is really simple to do. Instead of adding one of the plates like you normally would, you take two and you place them perpendicular to the tree trunk surface. Now you can split those up to be two smaller branches or roots, or you can put them together to make one thicker branch or root. Then it's just a question of building out using the same technique we talked about before and adding your leaves to the end. And what you end up with is a pretty neat looking tree that has a bit of texture in the trunk, as well as 100% posable roots and branches.
Thank you, True North Bricks, for that amazing 2-minute tech tip. If you want to try this at home, just get some 1x2 rounded plates and some limb pieces and see what you can put together to make some amazing trees. If you want to learn more from True North Bricks, go to @TrueNorthBricks on Instagram or TikTok. And for more 2-minute tech tips, go to #2minute tech tip on Instagram Reels from my profile. I'm the Brickanista, and may the clutch be with you.
I love that line.
Yes, that logo, by the way, was made by Boone Langston.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Boone. I got to know Boone a little bit through Bricks Cascade, and I had mentioned that he had made something for one of his shows, and I said, "Where'd you get that Star Wars font? Because I've used Star Jedi, and it just doesn't seem to look the same as what he did." And he said that was a custom font. So he said, "Hey, just tell me what you want, and I'll build it for you." Nice. I mean, it was just super nice guy. Yeah. But once again, when you saw your video, the fast zooms, the cutovers, the what is it? The lower thirds with the tearaway. What is that? Is that all from CapCut? That lower third with the
yeah.
That's okay. I'm gonna have to check that. And
so
I agree, Brick Jedi. That tree looks rad.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. And I agree, they should release behind the scenes content as well. But yeah, I'm just curious, from a mock point of view. So the tree that you made was that inspired by something, or how did you figure that out? Was that something you learned from another person, or?
It's sort of something I learned. Like the technique itself of using those rounded plates is not my idea. Right. But as far as I know, nobody has used it for a tree. So I've seen it a lot in like castle builds, to build round towers and such.
Round towers and stone walls and some of those other things. Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks really amazing as like stonework. But when I went to the Lego store and I saw that they came in that kind of, I don't know what color that officially is called, but that light brown, or nougat,
I think.
That I kind of thought, well, if you use that same tower technique and just made it smaller, it would be a tree trunk. And they're so versatile, those little bricks, because you can really, turn them around. And I thought, well, that would be great because you could build the roots. And then if you have like a tiled base with just the occasional stud sticking up, you could really bend the root to meet the stud, and then that will hold the tree in place. And that's something that I've always had problems with when I'm building mocks, is how do you get, the curved structure to meet the stud perfectly type of thing. And it's really easy when you use that technique. So yeah,
I love it. And I made a little one because I don't have very many of those 1x2 plates, but I think I'm gonna invest, in some of these the next time I'm at the Pick a Brick wall, because that's the other thing is that you can get a whole tub of those, and that sound effect I thought was what's the ASMR, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like going, oh, I need to like crinkle some plastic when I'm doing my videos in the future. But that's a great example. So for those of you who aren't following Tom, that definitely check that out, because I think you have a really great style that I really enjoy. Now, since you were talking about mocks, what are some of the mocks that you have done, and have you shown them at conventions too? Do you go to BrickCan or any of those other conventions?
This is going to be one of those moments where everyone's like, you're not really a Lego fan. How did you get recognized? I've never been to a convention before.
What? Never? Okay.
Well, I've
That
been to
has
a
to change.
comic book convention, but I've never been to a
A
Lego
Lego.
convention.
Okay. Well, but you mentioned this before. You are really good at your blog, and your blog, because there's not very many Canadians who are consistently blogging about the topic. That's why you earned your place. So don't discount that. I mean, I think that there's a lot to be said about, there's some RLFMs who that's all they do. They travel to different cons and take video and blog about it. But I think you and the other person I'm thinking about is Rambling Brick, who
Yeah.
have amazing blogs. And the other one is the Brick Architect. If you know another Tom Elfin over here in Seattle, he has an amazing blog too. So you should be very proud of your blog, and
Well, thank
you've
you.
earned RLFM. So don't feel embarrassed by that. I'm envious you have RLFM. I can talk a lot on videos, but that's probably what I need to do, is start blogging more. But going back to your mocks. So what mocks have you done? Because you clearly know how to mock. You've done that tree, and what kinds of things have you built that you might see at a future show someday?
Most of the stuff that I've built has been buildings. When I got out of my dark age, like many others, I started collecting again with the modulars.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the modulars that inspired me really to leave my dark age, but that's where I kind of started collecting sets again. I had this vision that I wanted to build a city full of DC Comics superheroes.
Right.
And if you have the superheroes, you need to have the city to put them in too. So I wanted to build a giant city to have all these characters in it. So most of my mocks have been modular style buildings.
And Marvel and superhero related ones?
Well, they're pretty generic city buildings. I try to tell a story inside the building and
Mm-hmm.
make the exterior kind of match a little bit with the modulars. But like the closest I got to a superhero build was I put a bat signal on top of my custom police station type of thing.
That's awesome. Because I'm a Batman fan. I'm a huge Batman fan.
Yeah,
So
me too.
I don't have it with me now, but I rearranged my workspace. But I have a cardboard cutout of Batman, a Lego Batman holding a coffee cup that says, I think I love Batman and me too. And I could go grab it if you want, but it's I can't wait when I can have a real studio and I can put a lot of these things out. But okay, so going back to, you have your city, you've got your superheroes.
My city.
Had. Oh, where'd
So,
it go?
well, I made the conscious decision this year to take it apart. I was looking at it because I designed it for a different space. That's the problem. So my wife and I lived in a condo before we bought our house. And while we were living in the condo, I had to move my Lego out because the collection was getting too big. Like our one dining table had turned into a Lego city and we had nowhere to eat. We were sitting on the floor or on the couch eating dinner, and it was a little bit ridiculous. So my in-laws, who lived down the street at the time, they actually said, well, we're not using our basement, so just, put all your stuff down there and you can build here. So I designed my Lego city for their basement.
Okay.
And then when we bought our own house and I got my own basement, the configuration just doesn't really fit the way that
to
it was
change it
designed to.
around.
So the buildings don't match the way that I had intended them to, and I've rearranged it several times, and it just never feels right. And then it was late last year when I actually got the jazz club, and I was looking at my city, and it's just the modulars. Like there's one or two buildings that I've designed myself that still fit after the move, but otherwise it looks pretty generic. And I felt like, well, I can tell a better story than this, you know? And
you should not apologize though for having generic, modulars, because there's lots of people who have built amazing cities.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Like I'm not trying to take away
You just
from.
sound so sad. You sound so sad about your city. That
well, I'm sad about because I guess my problem with my city is not specifically that it's full of modulars. Like I love the modular collection, and like I said, that pulled me out of my dark age. I definitely don't want to make anyone feel like I'm, dissing their modular city or anything like that. But I had a vision for my city when I started doing this, and it just never reached that point.
But you can rebuild it. You can rebuild it with the new configuration of your new house.
I can rebuild it.
It can happen.
But I think I want to start from scratch.
Yeah, well, you can do that.
I have this new idea. Well, I'm actually bouncing around two different ideas. I haven't decided which one I'm going to settle on yet. One of them is that I'm going to build Jurassic Park because I just love Jurassic Park, and
you need to go to Bricks Cascade. You just were in Portland. You know how cool Portland is, right? There's literally a Jurassic Park theme. And I know this personally because I'm part of the collab that did this amazing, huge Jurassic Park. So seriously, dude, if you want to, just make something for Jurassic Park, and we'll make sure that it gets into that theme somewhere. Seriously. I mean, I think that's great that you want to do a Jurassic Park city, and then expand on that.
Yeah. So that's one possibility. I've definitely collected a lot of dinosaurs over the years. But the other one is a little bit more, it's original, but it's not original, like everybody loves building castles. I mean, I know I've seen lots of pictures of castles and stuff from various shows. And
the Lion's Castle is now out, right?
Yeah. So when I was a kid, my little sister and we used to love the Pirates and the Castles theme. And we had like this whole elaborate world set up in our TV room on the carpet and on the tables. And we had this whole like storyline going through how these Pirates and Castle sets all related to each other. And I suddenly thought, well, that was fun, and I could build something along those lines, like, take those old stories from when we were kids and maybe elaborate on them a little bit and build a world around that. That's kind of a medieval city type of thing.
Yes. I'm big into pirates. I don't know if you knew that, but my very first mock was the Spice Girls as pirates, and it won an award from Bricks by the Bay. It had a Unikitty as the sigil, the angry Unikitty, and had, the sails had that. So yeah, definitely. And a couple people were saying, I feel you, dude, with your city, and they're all for Jurassic Park. So E.B. Good, by the way, has been on the show. So good to see you, Eddie, who's also from Lego Master Season 3. You probably remember Tom because Tom interviewed you too.
I don't know how memorable my 3 questions end up being in the end. Like they're bombarded by all these fan media asking them questions. So I don't take offense if they don't remember me.
It's okay. Well, I'm glad that the fan media interviews is how you and I met too, because I'll just mention this as a side comment that you are Canadian and Canadians are known for being super nice. And that you reached out to me because I apparently asked one of the questions that you normally did. It was my very first time being on the conference call. And I happened to ask the question that you normally do. And he reached out to me and said, "Is it okay if I, use that question? Because it's normally the question I ask." And being Canadian, I thought I'd ask for permission. It was the kindest email. And I said, of course. And I asked, one of the other RLFMs about it. And they said, you can use any of the questions, but you were just really kind to ask permission. And, but that's how we started chatting some more too, is after I kind of encroached on your question. So,
Well, I don't know if it really was my question, like, you normally go in with like a bank of stuff, but I mean,
well, Eddie remembers you.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah.
Glad I'm somewhat memorable.
Well, Eddie was on this Brick Builders Insight show, and we were brainstorming about tailgate parties for football teams. And I'm not sure if the Canadians do this too, but usually before a big game, we have a tailgate where they call it a tailgate party because you drive your trucks into a parking lot and you put the tailgate down, and then you have like a little barbecue. So he and I were talking about this because we're both 49er fans. And he came up with this idea, the brick-barbecue. So we have like some tailgate parties around Lego. And I said, that is awesome. So we can't wait to see what you and Aziza come up with. That's going to be fun. Okay, so you have a challenge now, Tom. You have to pick whatever day in the future, no pressure, someday in the future, you're going to have to go to a Lego convention and bring a mock with you. It could be in a couple months, it could be in a couple years, it could be 10 years from now. But someday you're going to have to bring a mock to a convention.
I think my first convention experience is going to be I'm going to try to, silently slide in and just see what it's all about.
You're gonna like come in and like incognito? Are you like gonna do stealth mode, or are you gonna?
Yeah, probably. Discreetly put up my camera every now and then and take some pictures, and because I've actually heard from because I watch Mountains and Minifigs with Heather's Bricks and Mr. Bookie Boo quite often. And
I don't know them. I'm gonna have to look them up.
It's a great little chat that they have normally once a week, and they were talking about how Mr. Bookie Boo was talking about how about how his first convention he just went just to experience it before he brought any mocks. So yes. I think that's probably what I'm going to do first. I'm debating whether or not I will do Brick Can this year. My original plan was that I would, but I have so many trips coming up that I don't know if I can really like take the time off of work.
Can you go on a weekend, or do you work weekends?
No, I don't normally work weekends.
Come on a Friday.
Like I'm going to be taking time off potentially at the end of April, because my wife has a work trip and I might just tag along just to take more Lego footage in a foreign city. It'll be down in the States again. And then my wife and I also have our 10-year anniversary coming up this summer, so we're going on a big trip. Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned, no pressure. Doesn't have to be this year. Doesn't have to be next year. Doesn't even have to be in 10 years. But someday, you should definitely experience a convention. My first convention, I had a brick film. And so I didn't have a traditional mock, because my mock was a 20-second brick film, but there was no place for the animators to sit. So I ended up hanging out with the medieval castle and pirate people. And that's probably what imprinted on me for when I did create a mock and got into pirates big time. So I was just going to invite you. You can decline the invitation. Is that Bricks Cascade is in May. It's a mother dimension because it's Mother's Day weekend in the States. I don't know if you celebrate Mother's Day in Canada the same weekend we do.
I think we do.
But if you do, you may not be able to come anyway. But if you do, if you're big into Jurassic Park, and just look up the Port Lug and also the Beyond the Brick videos. Just look up Jurassic Park collab Bricks Cascade, and you'll see a bunch of us. I was in the last one, was it last year, where there were 14 of us who brought different buildings and things. And there's one guy, Bob, who brings all the dinosaurs. You don't even have to bring dinosaurs. You just bring the buildings, and he brings all the dinosaurs there. And I think there were like 500 dinosaurs. You would love it. And you don't even have to bring a mock. So the invitation is you just show up and, you know, do your thing. If you even want to, you know, go incognito and not introduce yourself to anybody, just, you know, slide in and slide out. Don't tell me you're coming, because, you know, if I know you're coming, I'm going to seek you out. So just, I would just say, if it's not that one, Brick Fair, Virginia, I think is close to you. In Montreal, there's also Brick World, Chicago. There's so many great conventions that I think you would really enjoy it. And I think you're right. If you go to your first convention without bringing a mock, then you don't have to worry about staying with your mock to explain to the public, you know, what it is, and you can really enjoy the show. So I hope you have an opportunity to come back to the West Coast.
There's going to be opportunities for sure. Like, I definitely do want to go to a convention. I just haven't made myself I mean, before it just wasn't feasible because I was a teacher, and you get very specific times off as a teacher.
Right. Now, what did you teach? What was your discipline?
Mostly I taught science. That's what I'm actually trained to do. But, you know, as a teacher, you got to have many hats. So I also taught design. I taught visual arts. I taught English as a second language.
Wow.
Wow. There was a few different, but mostly it was science. Primarily, I was a science teacher.
Well, I'm really glad that we had this conversation, because I think that if this encourages you even a little teeny bit to go to a convention, it'll be well worth your time. And I think people in the chat here, E.B. Good, will tell you he just was on my show talking about his first mock that he brought to a show, and he's a Lego master, right? So I think the experience of the fellowship, let's talk about Rivendell, right? The fellowship of the brick is that the people that you'll meet, you'll build some lifelong bonds with, you know, regardless of whether you're on Lego Masters or not. There's just some really amazing people in this community that you'll really enjoy, and just being inspired by the different kinds of art, you know, whether it's people who do, you know, real life mosaics that look exactly like a photo. I mean, there's some that are amazing. And then there's sculptures, and there's this guy, Eric Law, who's with Bricks Cascade. He wins every year because he does these amazing, like Harry Potter, the one with the staircases that move. He had it all motorized and everything, and all the pictures were all perfect, and had the characters. It was just inspiring. And one of your Canadian friends too, Jason and Sarah, who Sarah did the Beauty and the Beast library. Are you familiar with that?
I might have seen pictures of it.
Well, she's out of Vancouver, both Jason and Sarah, husband and wife couple. But Sarah is the one who did the Beauty and the Beast library, and she's exhibiting now at the Lego House. So if you haven't met her, this is a good excuse for you to interview her as a fellow Canadian, and you can tell them the Brickanista sent you. I don't see them often, but they'll probably remember me. But well, I'm curious now, since we're talking about mocks, what's in your future for you? What are you planning for the blog or for your TikTok account? And you know,
well, if on TikTok and Instagram, I've already shown some of my current mock project. It's been on hold now since I've been traveling, but I'm trying my first character build. So this
nice.
is is going to be a giant mountain troll. His head is a little bit floppy right now because I haven't figured out how to
mechanism.
Really make the mechanism stay in place yet.
Right.
But the jaw, I'm quite proud of the jaw because it actually snaps shut,
Did you use rubber bands for that? I'm trying to remember what you used.
Yeah, so there's rubber bands that are built inside the head. You can't really see them anywhere now because it's been pretty well covered up on the side. But
I like the spikes, the spiky grass, the brown spiking grass that you're using for the hair.
Yeah, so that was a bit inspired. There's this movie on Netflix right now that's called Troll. It's like a Norwegian film, so it's dubbed in English, but it's all about this like giant mountain troll basically that's been dormant for centuries and suddenly wakes up because of an earthquake. And that's kind of where
you got your inspiration from that.
A little bit, yeah. When my wife and I got married, we went on our honeymoon to Belize and we stayed at a lodge called the Sleeping Giant. And it was called the Sleeping Giant because the mountains behind it looked like a body, lying down that the forest had grown over.
Nice.
And this Norwegian movie made me think of that and how cool it would be to actually build that type of character. And this comes back to what we were talking about before about how I'm disassembling my Lego city and thinking about building that kind of medieval fantasy type thing.
Fantasy. And you can have the troll that's part of it, the mountain troll.
So he would be kind of part of the mountain, dormant in the mountain type of thing.
Cool. Apparently, some of the chat knows about this film. That Troll's the classic movie. Oh, cool. Yeah, I think that a medieval city with a mountain troll in the background would be epic.
Yeah, so maybe that's the direction I've kind of started to go, but I'm still hovering with the Jurassic Park idea,
You could have Jurassic Park with a mountain troll.
Maybe.
I mean, think about it. How dormant has this troll been? He might have been dormant since the dinosaur era.
That's true. But either way, I have to build a mountain because Isla Nublar has a volcano on it. But my medieval story has a troll. So I think that's where I'm going to start is I'll build the mountain and decide what goes around it after.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. All right. So thank you again for being on the show. It's been so great chatting with you. I could probably chat with you longer. For some reason, whenever I have Canadians on the show, like when I interviewed the Stevens, we talked for 3.5 hours. I kid you not. I even asked them, and Remy and I were talking to them. It's like, we're going almost as long as, Gone with the Wind if we keep going. No, we're fine. It's like, wow. But you're always welcome to come back anytime. If you ever have some news you want to share, we'll definitely make it happen. And I wanted to thank also the chat. Thank you, Spot, EB Good, Brick Jedi, Lena, anybody who's going to be watching later as well. And for anybody over in Rumble, I know you guys are quiet over there. I said hello to you in the chat. You can always say hello too. And I'm super excited for all the things you have happening with you, Tom. And I'm thankful that you agreed to be on the show to share with us a little bit about what you're doing. And if you want to follow Tom, go to True North Bricks on Instagram, also on TikTok, and also truenorthbricks.com if you want to read his blog. And you're listening to the Brickanista Broadcast Network. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the stream. I always keep forgetting to ask that, but remember to like and subscribe to the stream. That really helps, especially on YouTube and on Rumble. It's following. So follow me over there. And if you want to join too, that I just started the locals.com Pandy's Play Space. So if you become a member, you can be part of that. And if you just want to send fan mail, you can send it to the Brickanista Broadcast Network, P.O. Box 31956, Seattle, Washington 98103. I really appreciate you being here, Tom. And I hope we get a chance to meet in person sometime. if you do go to BrickCan, even if it's just a fly-in and you don't want anybody to know, I may or may not be there. I'm currently registered, but it depends on how our robotics team does, because our robotics team, if we do well, we might be in Houston that weekend. But I know someday we'll meet at a convention or someplace. But I just wanted to thank you again for your time. It's really been fun hanging out with you, and really looking forward to seeing how your TikTok grows too, because you've been doing great considering you only started in August. That's amazing.
Well, thank you very much. And thanks for inviting me. This was my first time ever doing a live stream. So
yeah, that wasn't so
bad. Historic event.
Historic. And as I mentioned on Rumble, that I think you're the very first RLFM, because I'm not a recognized Lego Fan Media. Tom, you absolutely deserve the RLFM designation. Your reviews are really insightful, and you do so much good work. So for those of you on Rumble, you're witnessing it right here. RLFM on Rumble, who is awesome and has done his first interview here. So thank you for giving me the honor of interviewing you here. And great stream. Thank you, Brick Jedi. And thank you, everybody. And as they say on the Brick and Easter Broadcast Network, thank you, everybody. And may the clutch be with you. Take care. Bye.